let's get started. First, let's go with anybody have anything glaring, new questions, anything they want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm curious around your I wanted you to touch on you've mentioned that you're using Anthropic for your copywriting now,
Yeah.
and I'd be curious to see like just a little bit more in depth about that, like what the output looks like, and like are you using a very similar prompt to like what you were using before, or are you taking it in a completely different direction?
Yeah, it's a very great question, Mark. So let me share Clay here. We're just gonna get raw. Well, Mark, I feel you because the same thing happened to me 2 years ago, literally. And I had to have surgery as well, and it sucks. But I'm glad you're back. Not a pleasant feeling.
No, it
Just
doesn't sound.
was sitting there one day, and within a couple hours, I was crouching over and holding my side. And next thing you know, it was time to go to the ER. So I definitely feel you. All
Yep.
right. Let's look at everybody here. So we're picking up a few other people, I think, too. Um, all right. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, Mark. Just because the only tables I've used it so far on are client tables. I don't want to share that only recording. So I'm just going to do a blank table here. And I have it already added. And so first thing I saved it as a template. So say API. And, you can obviously add Anthropic directly, but my concern is that I don't have like full access to Anthropic like I do OpenAI. I haven't used it enough, so I don't want to get rate limited. So I'm using OpenRouter to do this call. So before I go on, I know sometimes I move too fast. Does everybody understand the distinction between what I just said, where I could go to Anthropic directly in Clay, but because I have not used it enough, I'm rate limited, which means I can't call it fast enough. So I use OpenRouter to bypass that by calling it through OpenRouter. Does everybody understand what that means?
Yep.
We're all
Conceptually.
good. Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, good. Somebody said no. I didn't see who it was. So let's just explain OpenRouter again because it's probably one of the most powerful tools you can put in your toolbox if you're not using it. So OpenRouter is a tool that allows you to basically collect new models as they get released, almost always the same day, and call those models directly versus waiting on Clay to build those models in, right? So every time new models come out, OpenRouter puts them up. And then because we can connect to OpenRouter via API, we can use that model directly through OpenRouter versus having to rely on Clay to make that connection, right? So when Clay makes that connection, to be fair, they're going to, so we'll just do a couple, right? So we type in AI, we see right away Twain is a model, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google Gemini, right? So we'll just use Anthropic for an example. I could use Clay's account, which is going to cost me a credit. Now, if you are on the plan that it takes to call APIs, then you get 10,000 credits for $350. That's 3.5 cents per credit. So remember that number. So you could use Clay's account and pay 3.5 cents per run, and that will give you access to these are the Claude models that are in there, right? Which, by the way, Claude is Anthropic. So Sonnet is the one we're going to use through OpenRouter in a second, but that would cost me 3.5 cents per run if I was on the 10,000 credit plan, right? This API call we're going to run in a minute, it's going to cost us, I don't know, some number ridiculously lower than 3.5 cents, like at least 10 to 50 times cheaper. So that's number one reason not to do OpenRouter. The other reason why is that with Anthropic, I'm just going to show you their page. And the same is true if you use GPT. Most of these models, they do this. So when you go to get your API keys, they rate limit you. And so what that essentially means is they put you in tiers. And as you pay them more, they give you more capabilities, right? And so I can only do 1,000 requests per minute or so many tokens a minute. Now, this doesn't bother me because I don't generally do it more than 1,000 requests per minute. But these tokens per minute, the average input token I'm going to send is 400 to 600. And so basically, I can do something like 200 to or less calls a minute. So if you're trying to run a table with 1,000 leads at the same time, you're going to get blocked. Like it's not going to run properly. And I'm in tier two. Like if you get lower, it's even worse, right? So what you can do to avoid these rate limits is use OpenRouter, and you pay the same price. So whatever the cost is, it's the same in OpenRouter. So like here's all their models. I like OpenRouter because the pricing is very transparent. So if I go in and look at my activity, I can see the cost of all these runs, which the ones we're going to do on Anthropic in a minute, they're 0.5 of a cent. So what did I say that was? I don't know. It's still 10 times less than 3.5 cents or whatever. Maybe it's 8 times less or 7 times less, but still I'm paying 7 times less and I'm not rate limited. So I can run as many as I want as long as I have credits in my account, right? For OpenRouter. So you do have to buy your credits from OpenRouter in advance, but you just, you do this enough, like, hey, I need to keep $100 in there at any given time or whatever. Right. And then the other cool thing about OpenRouter is, again, you don't have to just call that model. You can call any of these models. And I just saw one that caught my eye. Like I'm kind of interested in what this new Llama, I think I tested this one last week, but the marketing SEO thing, these tags are new. So that's new since I've been in here last week. But every model you can imagine is in here, right? If you type in, OpenAI, there's many,
Just
etc.
very quick question about pricing. Does Anthropic make any markup, or do they just OpenRouter do they charge you more per call, or do they just buy in bulk and therefore they buy a discount and you pay the same as if you would call it directly?
Yeah, they charge exactly the same amount. So if you were to go, and we'll test that theory here. So Claude Sonnet is $3 per million input, $15 per output. That's there it is right there. That's the self-moderated one. So let's check that. $3 since we're on Anthropic's site. Perfect timing to check it. So I don't know if it's here or where's their pricing. All right, sorry about that. So if we come in here, yeah, it'd be nice if I had that offhand, but anyway, it's on here somewhere. I don't want to waste more time, but the answer to your question is, yeah, it's the same. So whatever you will see, there's different versions of models, right? So they have like I've noticed that these companies will put out like subset models that are a little bit more open, and then they'll put out beta models. But whatever pricing you find on OpenRouter, so I've never tried to figure this out. I don't know how OpenRouter actually makes any money, but I'm sure whatever they charge for the models is the same, and in some cases, it's actually cheaper. And the reason why I think it's cheaper is because some of these companies or providers that provide access to the model actually have kind of an underlying like they bulk purchase. So I haven't tried this, but one of the things I've seen people posting about in the Clay community is with OpenAI, you can do processing in bulk and get a cheaper rate than even through their API than even what you get calling them individually. So I think that's how some of them are doing. But that's a long-winded answer to your question. That yeah, it's the same price and or cheaper. And you can always check that. You just have to look at the price that they have it transparently under each model, and then you can cross-reference it to the website. So, any other questions about OpenRouter before I move on to the Clay table?
I had one. I was trying to put OpenRouter together, but the problem I was running into was the prompt as well. When you add the website research column was basically too big to handle within the formula. Do you ever run into something like that, or maybe I'm just doing it completely wrong? That's also possible as well.
No, it's okay. I mean, so what I do is in the prompt itself, and so let me re-add it. So you can't, here's the other thing I like about APIs. You notice I can't save the prompt here. This is Clay's version of it, right? Calling it directly. But one of the reasons why, even if it's built into Clay, I kind of like to use my own API key is because watch when I add this. See how you can save it as a template? So I save my sonnet calls as a template. You have to fill out the prompt key, which I haven't built yet, but I can use it as a template. And now like all my API work's already done.
Oh.
So I don't have to redo this every single time. Like it even remembers my API key, right? So that's like all of this first time work is done. So the only thing I have to change now is my input column. So Jesse, to answer that was you, Jesse, right? Yeah. To answer your question, this is where I limited in the max tokens.
Okay, 4,000. Okay.
Yeah, which seems to work across multiple LLMs. Now you can also do some rate limiting here, but I really haven't like this is a lot of calculations to figure out what's what, right? So I just have found that if I limit the max tokens to 4,000, it works pretty well. So let's save this real quick, and we'll get to Mark's question and yours at the same time, Jesse. So let me pull up another Clay table on a separate screen here so I can copy over the prompt. I don't have the underlying research, so I'm going to go ahead and build real quick a research so you guys can see both basically working together. But let me get the prompts, and then you'll see those as well. So I'm trying to be a little bit more deliberate about not doxing my clients on my builds on recorded video, so that's why I'm keeping it on a separate screen here. All right, so Mark, and I hope you, Mark, you okay? I'm getting to a long-winded answer to your question. Hopefully,
No, it's all good.
You'll get more out of it than you asked. That's what I promise in return. So, all right. So the first thing I want to talk about to get to the copy is I need research, right? I can't just, I got to have something to put into my copy. So I'm going to build really quickly the research prompt here, so you can kind of see if you're not doing anything like this. I've actually updated it since last week, so it's a little bit more accurate, and I've got it down to 1 column versus 2. So we're going to add a column. We are going to do ClayGent. Please, if you are not doing this, if you take anything out of today's call, please do this, because this level of research for the price has just gotten ridiculously cheap. So here's the prompt. I'm going to pull it over. right? And I'm going to show you, right? So, and I probably need to add some data to make it a little bit better. So we'll use me as an example. But your professional reporter, adopt the persona of a journalist, take your task that we wanted to visit the website, the LinkedIn company profile, the contact name. And I'm going to even add in here personal LinkedIn profile. Now, would you believe me a couple months ago if I told you that in one prompt I could get all of this done? The answer should be no, because you couldn't do this in one prompt, even 2 weeks ago. So the cool thing is you can, right? So I'm going to plug this information in so it's valid, but just remember, you can get the website from anywhere. Their LinkedIn profile is one click credit away. You can import LinkedIn companies for free on the plan, the 350 plan, which is the one it takes to make this API call. You can do 25,000 at a time. You can also do personal LinkedIn profiles, 25,000 at a time. So there's really no reason why you can't get this information for virtually free, right? So that's why I use all these in my prompts, and it's robust, right? And I'll show you, we'll plug me in a minute for an example. But the goal is we want in one prompt, go look at the website, go look at their company profile, look at their contact name, and look at their personal LinkedIn profile, right? And give us, and if you notice, the emphasis here is on you can go out to other sources as well, but give us recent achievement, leadership changes, notable projects, stuff that shows when you're reaching out to someone via email, getting back to what Mark asked, which we're going to do in a second with Sonnet, that you're creating accurate email, right? You're speaking to true pain points. What's changed for me in the last couple of weeks with these types of prompts is that the accuracy level is absolutely spot on, right? So I'm going to show you that. If you're going to do this, definitely use your own API key. Again, same cost argument. You can do it for 1 credit, or we can do it for, at least a minimum a third of that with GPT Mini. So let's save this. Do not run. And let's give it my LinkedIn profile, which I can never seem to remember. There. I mean, I know what it is. I just don't know what it is. The URL is. All right. And then my domain. All right. Just put my email in there so it has everything about me. I just had this epiphany. Like every time I use myself as an example, it's almost like I'm using myself as a marketing example. Here's how to reach me. Here's my website. Here's my LinkedIn profile. All right, and then let's go to my company profile as well, so we can grab that. I can't even remember how to get the profile. Does anybody know how to get the company profile off the top of their head?
If you, click on the top left.
On your job experience. On your job experience.
If you
Company
click
profile, yeah, click on the icon. Yeah.
Yeah, it pulls it up, but I can't remember how to get the URL. Well, I know it's yeah, see, I'm trying to get it here, but I wonder if I put it, let me see if this is it. I mean, I could
dropped it in the
obviously
chat. It's linkedin.com/company/Cobalt keys, if that's the one you want to use.
yeah, I want to use content marketing media. So.
Okay, that is content marketing media.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, so thank you. Normally I would never have to manually pull this, so that's why it's so we're gonna add a column here. Let's call it company LinkedIn profile. And then we're going to drop mine in there. All right. I just wanted to go through this effort to show you how powerful this prompt is, right? So Now we just need to make sure it's mapped correctly. So my website is company domain, my LinkedIn profile, company profile is company LinkedIn profile. My name is here. And my personal LinkedIn profile is here, right? All right. So obviously if I had a table of 10,000 people, this would all work the same, right? But I can check they're all there. One trick is I've learned, like, in case you guys don't know this when you're doing these kind of prompts, like you may not always have the company LinkedIn profile. So just turn this button off and then it won't be required to run, right? It'll still run without it. So a lot of people don't know that. So, but here we go. Here's a prompt and I'm going to save it. And we're going to run it. So while that's running, I'm going to add a prompt column so we can put our prompt into our email copy. And we're going to do this at the column level and pull over the prompt here. So one of the things I've done lately is really try to work on these prompts to make them sound more human. So I'm running 2 tests right now. One of them is using this aspect right here where we're saying, sounding like it comes from you, a founder with a very professional yet personal communication style. And then the other one I launched yesterday talks about empathy. Like, I want you to have an empathetic style. I'm trying to get away from the complimentary approach. Like, I feel like it's oversaturated. Like, there's just so much of, hey, you do such a great job at this. Now, this still does a little of that, but I'll show you some of the things I built in here in a second. We come back to it, but like I've created some dynamicness to this, so I'm actually giving examples of how to. So it's still kind of complementary, but it's unique. Like, everyone's a little bit different, right? And this, you could change this to be whatever you want. But let me remove these for a second so we can go back to the research. I love how one great question can turn into a whole session here. So if you look at this is the type of research it pulls, right? So that's me, that's my company, this is everything I do. All of this, again, is 100% accurate. It even knows, and this is with killer, right? On his LinkedIn, Josh Whitfield underscores his expertise as a certified AI professional, showcasing his leadership, not only in content marketing, but his newer adventure, Cobalt Keys. This is spot on. Like, we just launched this company 3 months ago, right? And it is a company that I'm a third founder of. I run all the AI, the tech, side of it. But it's spot on. Like, I mean, it's a little bit, fuzzy wuzzy about how good I am, but like, the detail is accurate as far as the detail. And again, the steps taken, this is where your mind should get blown if it's not. Like, think of all the tools that are out there. Like, 3 cents a lead. I will go and pull the website, the LinkedIn profile, the personal profile, and relevant. Like, this shit is so killer for the price that you pay. I mean, this is 100% accurate. This is my actual website. This is my business phone number. This is a testimonial on my website right now. Like, I even read this article on adweek.com. I don't even know that exists, but it's speaking to just different components of what my company does. We don't just do AI and email, we do content marketing. Here is my actual LinkedIn. This is all correct. Here is my personal LinkedIn, right? This is all 100% correct. That research cost 2/10 or 2.2 tenths of a penny. right? It didn't even hit the penny mark. I could do 4 of these for an Abraham Lincoln, right? This is the future, right, of AI. Like this is what is going to change lead gen. If you do not think that somebody, it's already happening because I've met with some of these companies, that is going to take this level of orchestration and create you a tool that you can plug in, go tell me everything you need to know about Josh Whitfield or content marketing media or anybody that does email marketing, whatever, and do all of this for you automatically, like it's coming. I've seen samples of it. I've met with some of these companies because this is how good it is. It's already this good, right? So again, if you're not, you don't have, I'm not saying follow my templates. You can do whatever template you want, but just grasp the concept that for 2/100, for 2, I don't even know the right abbreviation, for 20% of a penny, you can call 4 different sources and go out to the web and get this type of information. If you're not incorporating some of this into your lead gen or your approaches, like even if all you did is took this output and pushed it to people's CRMs and updated their 3,000 leads in their CRM, you know, what kind of, and I haven't had time to kind of go in and push the limit on this, but it's crazy. So any questions before I move on to the copy? Because again, this is what I've been spending the most time on the last few weeks. I've turned this from 2 prompts into 1 now, and I feel like I could probably even push the limits further, but I just haven't had time.
No, looks solid.
And when you build your stuff, just trick number 1, like test it on yourself or test it on something you can validate its accuracy, because when you can nail it on yourself, then you feel comfortable reproducing it over and over again. All right, so copy, right? How do we go from here to copy? So let me move this over. So this is the template. I want to name it as such. All right, and let's review the template, right? So it's going to help us write a personalized email page coming from you. Again, this is all my style. You can choose your style. I like this style. It works really well for me. One of my clients, SaaS company, booked a call yesterday with Salesforce, which could be a dramatic moneymaker, right? If it works out for them. So this is the exact format I used for their email, and that got them to book that call with Salesforce. So again, a little bit about the template, the research strategy. So it's telling it where the research is coming from. We'll dynamically inject that in a second. I like the founder persona. And what I've done lately is kind of give it examples of how to start the paragraph off, and then give it choices to kind of mix it up a little bit. I don't want all my emails sending the same opening line. Like to me, that's an easy flag for AI. So I gave it like 8 or 10 choices to open the email. But the whole goal is I build 2 paragraphs, and you can build 3, you could build 1, doesn't matter how you want to do it. But there's a lot of detail that goes into building this prompt, right? And it's purely about being professional, sounding like you're a business person, not being salesy, and limiting the injection of the offer to paragraph 2, but also telling it to tie it to the research and how it will benefit them, right? So a lot of things going on here. This is how I've always built my prompts, but the trick is now I'm going to tell you exactly what I do. So there's no rocket science here. I go to Poe. Can someone confirm for me, like when I change screens, you're still seeing the new website?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Poe is the best $20 a month I've ever spent in my life, right? Because what Poe does, if you don't use it, is that it can switch from all of these different models, right? So if you look at the crafting email, I'm literally just giving it my prompt and telling it to get better. So this is what I type. This is good, but I wanted to open the email with multiple empathetic options, like I know you've been busy or whatever. I know this is for an SEO. I know you've been let down by SEO. So again, like I'm using Poe to prompt my prompt to make my prompt better. So another takeaway for today, right? Who is the best at writing prompts? And it's not me, it's the large language model. You want to make your prompts better, ask the large language models to make it better. I like Gemini. Like, I think Gemini is really, really good for prompts. I don't use Gemini for copy, but I liked it because it helps with prompts. So I was using Poe. And then if you don't like what Poe says, then you can click on Sonnet and it'll give you the output from Sonnet. That's the really cool thing. If you don't like I said Poe, but if you don't like a given model, then you can just tell another model, like, give me what does GPT-4 think of this, etc. Right? So that's why Poe is cool, because it gives you the ability. So you take a couple of these and you test them. But do you see how they're just putting them in like a format that is so much cleaner than I could have ever tried to write myself? And that's why I do it. And then all I've got to do is inject my columns, right? So that's how I get to my prompts, whether it be research or text. And so back to Clay, this is how I got to this prompt. And it took a while to get it the way I want it. You test them and you test them. Again, I test them on myself, like, would I respond to this email? And I got this prompt the way I want. And so, Mark, to your question, we are going to inject that prompt column here. And it's called template. And we're not going to run it yet because I need to put the research in the template, but save and don't run. And then in the template, I need to add the research. Always do your templates in the column level, because then as you add more rows, it'll just populate down. But instructions, so we want to review and integrate the offer. I don't think I put the offer in there yet, so I need to add that. And then let's do the company and person research, which is called company review response. That's this column over here. So that's all that research that came out of that is going to be in there. And then I could add an offer column, but I'm just going to put one here. Let's just say I'll use my own. And you don't have to dynamically populate this, right? I mean, you could just type it in if you want. I'm going to make it short. The nice thing I've noticed with this offer column, you don't have to like write great. Like, even when I don't write great, it'll still make up for it. So, all right. So I just put that in there real quick as an example, since we're using me, and then we're going to save it. So again, if you had multiple clients, you were doing this for multiple things, you could make this column dynamic like you did down here, or you could just type it in. But now as I add more rows, it's automatically going to be there, right? So I don't have to worry about doing that every time. The only difference in prompting here in a template like this versus prompting in here is that because we're calling an API, we don't have the option to prompt here. So we have to do it in a column. So all we do is inject that prompt in here. If we were using like OpenAI or something built into Clay, we would be able to put it here, right? So that's really the only reason why we're doing it in a template. And then I'm going to run it. And what's going to happen, and we'll go back to OpenRouter in a second. It's already run, but if you notice, if I were to go look at my history, activity, there it is. No, maybe not. Yeah, it's weird. It's not updating live, but it'll come unless I just messed up and it didn't call it. Oh yeah, it didn't. So that, who was that that asked a question about max tokens earlier? You guys still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I forgot the guy's name, but I remember what you were talking about.
Yeah. So I'm gonna up it and see. That's the first time I've actually seen that error. But it says I put too many tokens. So let's see.
Yeah, this was my question. Sorry. Yeah, what I was doing, I was writing the prompt inside of there instead of actually linking it to the template, and that's what screwed it up.
Yeah, so it looks like I've run into that issue just now. So it's kind of, well, it's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna try. I've never actually seen that, so I think you jinxed me, Jesse. But
Sorry.
it's okay. I wonder what I did. I wonder if I did something weird. Let me just double check my template here. That's so weird. Like
Yeah,
I've
so
never
the
actually
prompt
had.
was too large.
Yeah.
Again, I was typing the prompt right there in that inside that HTTP API column instead of running it through a template.
Yeah. So let's see if I can fix it. If not, I'll just show you the table of thousands that I did yesterday without having this error until Jesse asked the question, and then it's like the AI heard. All right, no, I'm kidding. So good. I just limited it down to 2,000, and then so we get the.
I'll stop asking questions. Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding, Jesse. It's just so ironic. That's why I thought it was funny. So like here's again, this is really with no tweaking, just pulling in my own data. But Mark, do you see it did exactly what I told it to? So here's the opening line that I said, one of the suggestions I gave it. It talks about so here's the thing, and this is where relevancy is extremely relevant. Relevancy really matters. I put this line. I'm going to show you. This is my website. Bold claim, right? I put this on my website just this weekend. And this cold email, if somebody was reaching out to me using this process, would have been able to identify it. That's how relevant that is, right? So that's where the research tying with the copy matters, because like nowhere else do I speak about doing outreach via video except in that spot on my website. And this research process picked up on that, other than maybe in a few of my LinkedIn posts, right? So again, this is the research. And then this is basically, if you remember, I typed this out while we were doing this, as a certified instantly clay expert, la, 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 but this part is dynamically created, given your focus on leveraging technology for measurable results, I believe so it's finding the match that I talked about in the prompt. So again, this is just all by design, but let's see now that I should have the cost. Right, so 0.5 of a cent. So what did it cost us at the end of the day to do this level of research and pull and write this level of copy? Well, we know that this cost, the 2.0028, and then this cost 0.005. So 0.008, so 0.8 of a cent is what it cost us to do that. Or what I would say is pretty, you don't have to love my copy style, but it's hard to argue like being able to pull in this amount of relevant data into email copy doesn't make a difference. It really does. People recognize that. Now, what I'm constantly trying to improve on my own campaigns is how do I make this sound more like a human, right? Like I think it's better, but I'm still trying to get it better all the time. Like maybe I'm going to tell the prompt to misspell something on purpose, but I like the founder persona. I think it resonates really well with the people that we target for the most part, but it may not work for you. Like I would totally tell you it's perfectly cool to use tools like Twain or something else. But this has always been my approach. The difference between moving to like Sonnet or some of these newer models that have come out in the last 2 weeks is I'm just now able to do it for a third or a fourth of the cost. All right, Mark, you get the congratulations on me taking 35 minutes to answer your question. But
No, that was
it was
everything I was looking for and more. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do have another question.
Sure. You're the only one talking, so ask away.
I'm trying to like think of a workflow, right? So I'm wanting to implement the Scrapely approach. I think that's huge. I've identified one of our software partners. They share our customer base, right? So they've got like 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, which is insane and not common. We could absorb the cost. That the company would definitely do that. But then I'm trying to think just from like a cost perspective after that, like, I mean, after I pay Scrapely, then would you suggest maybe like uploading that to Clay and maybe just like running I don't really want to run AI research at that scale because I know I'm going to, you know, get a lot of attrition and burn through a lot of money in that way. So maybe just use the LinkedIn description, maybe as like a preliminary and using like GPT or something like that, just to filter out from the LinkedIn description.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it would probably, I don't remember the exact number, but it's probably gonna cost you 400 or 500 to scrape 100,000 LinkedIn's, right? To get those people. And, you know, he's in our group, right? So he can tell you exactly what it is. But so that's definitely worth it. Like, I can't stress enough, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, like following people's LinkedIn company page is a huge indicator that someone's passionate about that company. Because did you see a minute ago where like how like it was even hard for me to navigate to my own company LinkedIn page? Like it's equally as hard for everybody else, right? Like when you follow a person, it's simple. You like their post, you hit follow, the button's right there. When you follow a company, I mean, granted, you could just follow it the same way, but most people follow companies because they want to follow the company, right? So there's a little bit of a passion there. It's a great signal. So kudos to you, Mark, for saying that's how I'm going to get the lead, because I think it's a brilliant way to start. I've done it myself multiple times. So the next thing is like everything is breaking down to economies of scale, right? So if I had a list of 100,000 people, which I do in some cases, I'm going to do mini GPT runs to sort stuff out. And I talked about this in an example, and I think even Eric made a post today I read that makes the same argument, that GPT-4 mini is so damn cheap that I would be using it for microbursts to almost do anything, right? So I will tell you, like, I will use it now to clean company names. I will use it now to do math and write formulas. Not that you can't do that for free in Clay. Not that you can't do that, can't clean company names for free in Clay, but I can clean company names better and more accurately for 1/1000th of a cent. So why would I not? And that's the point, Mark, that I would make to you, is that what I would do is come in and do little Claygent runs and grab little pieces of information that don't require it. And I did this yesterday on a campaign, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I did. I said, so one of my clients runs campaigns for a big, one of my clients, we run campaigns for a big company that services only churches. And there are certain types of churches that they wanted to reach out to. So I just used GPT, and the only prompt I wrote was, I said, go to their website and determine if they are this type of church. And that's it. So that output for that was 0.00007. So basically I could do like, I don't know, like 13,000 for $1, right? So trying to do that by LinkedIn or some other like robust sources. So that's the answer to your question, Mark. Like I would write very, very small Claygent prompts to get information that helps me weed down my list, and then spend the 2/100th of a cent, which is 3 times what I just proposed, for the list that makes sense. Does that make sense? Like that's
Yeah,
how.
100%. That's a great methodology.
Because here's what people are doing, which I think is just, I'm probably going to get fired from my Clay partnership at some point for saying stuff like this. But here's what people are doing, which is totally ridiculously stupid, is go pay a Clay credit and pull, or 2 Clay credits and pull these LinkedIn, like pull every company profile on LinkedIn for 1 Clay credit. That's 3.5 cents when all you really need to know is the company size, right? So here's a use case I ran into day before yesterday. I have a client who only wants to target companies that are smaller than 5,000 because they're a recruiting agency. And historically, if a company has over 5,000 employees, they don't need recruiters, right? They have their own recruiting department, right? So all we needed to do is exclude from that table companies that were over 5,000. Now, I could have used a Clay credit on every single row at 3.5 cents each just to get that one parameter within LinkedIn that tells me the company size. Or the other thing I could have done, which is what I did, I told GPT to go visit the LinkedIn profile, just like you saw me do in the company review on the screen, and then tell me what the size was. The difference in cost, 3.5 cents to 0.2 of a cent, right? So just, I don't know the math on that. What is it? 25 times cheaper or whatever, right? So that's, you just have
70,
to start. How many? 17? Thank you. Yeah, I suck at math, even though
70, 70.
70. Great. Yeah. That's why I just have GPT do all my math for me now. So I'm not really good at it anymore. That was a joke, but it's just, you have to start thinking when you have, unless you're running 50 or 100 leads, you got to think about economies of scale and just how to break things in bite-sized tasks. I was telling somebody, one of the members of the group, Dom, who's on the call a lot, not on today, but through a conversation earlier today, it's like, you're going to win with these models if you can find use cases for them to replace what you have to pay other things to do. And then secondarily, with these complex type situations where you want to get detailed information, break stuff up into small bite-sized chunks. So instead of writing one big prompt like I just wrote, and we'll just use this as an example, like maybe you want to exclude people by the output of what their company LinkedIn profile says. Because I just showed you, if you didn't know, that GPT can call their LinkedIn profile, right? You just saw it happen in this table. So maybe you can just call this LinkedIn company profile here, and for 1/4 of the cost of this one, get the answers you need and exclude those people out before you run the full thing on everybody and save yourself money. Like, just make it go here and say, are they a marketing company? And if they're not, exclude all those people, and then run your email validation and your research on the people that qualify. So use it as a qualification tool and break things up into smaller prompts. And that's how you can save money and do things faster.
Could you drop that prompt in the chat?
Oh, you know what? I love you guys so much. I'm going to make it even better.
There you go.
This one's a little bit different because I literally built it on the spot today, so I don't mind giving it away here. Let's see. I'm just going to make sure I got everything. You guys see it?
Yep.
Somebody click it and test it, just make sure it works, because I'm on the beta version here, and so they've changed some stuff lately, so it's not all in the same place. I don't know if you guys noticed, but
Works.
my screen probably looks a little different than yours.
It worked.
Sweet.
I have another question. This
Fire
more
away.
like where's the resource? I've never used OpenRouter. I have it up. I pulled it up from earlier, but like, what's a good resource to figure out how the heck to connect this to Clay? Or did you cover this in another session?
I'm going to show you. It's super simple. So if you just take that table that I just built you, Mark, find whatever model you want to use, like I have on the screen. See this little clipboard here?
Yep.
Copy it. So whatever model you want to use, you just copy that, and then come into the table, which is here, and in the API call, this is where the model is right here. And you just paste that value there. And that's what model it will actually call. Do you see how I replaced it on the screen?
Yep.
So if you use my template, if you use a different input field, this is where your input field is. So if you change the name or something, you got to make sure this is right. And then the only thing I ask you to do is you just need to replace the API key with your API key, which is everything after the word bearer.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all you're going to have to do. So you go to OpenRouter, you get your, get your API key, create a key, name it. I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with integrations. I don't have access to it yet, but I tried to on Discord, but they're starting to get more integrated. But that's it. You get your API key. And so the two things you have to change in my table is the API key and then whatever model you want. And if you want to get fun, you really start to be an OpenRouter geek like me, I'll show you what I've done. I think it's this one. Oh, that's crazy. This is the one where I was testing. But you can even dynamically populate those model values. See, these are like the ones we were looking at, Mark. Command R, Cohere. These are all just different models. You can create a list in Clay. So you see how this, if I edit this column, it's a list.
Yep.
So these are all the models I like. I haven't updated it in a few weeks, but these are all the models I like. And then I can actually, it's now a drop down. So I can choose which one I want. And then in the API call, all I did in the API call was make
Use
that value be this. Yeah.
Yep.
Now this one I was testing through Appify. So I was getting results. So there's so many different ways you can do this. The reason why I built this one, if anybody wants to know, is you can bypass the API requirement in Clay if you go through Appify. So there's a API actor in there that allows you to call any API. And so that's a little trick that if you use the Appify actor, then you don't necessarily have to be on the $350 a month plan. But it's a little complicated. So depends how important that is to you to figure out. What else? 6 minutes. Well, let me take my last 5 minutes to just plug how ridiculously well our campaigns are going with Reachly. So I'm adding more and more with them, but we are running a lot of campaigns now with video in the first email. It is working really, really well. So if you haven't tried this, I would encourage it. Just remember you need to send 5-10 emails a day, nothing more. And they're adding in some really cool features. So they've already added in you can drop Apollo in here, a rel. They're doing some of their own enrichment stuff. So yesterday, I used some of my Clay credits to clean company names, but I just forgot to do it in my Clay table. And I could do that right in their tool. The killer thing I figured out, and it was totally by accident. And I mentioned this in one post, but I wasn't really serious about it. But now I'm getting really serious about it. Is I'm dropping Lucky Orange onto my Reachly pages. And so I'll show you mine, but you can see some of the ones I'm doing here. It's killer. I can see, you can obviously tell we're pumping up the volume of what we're sending, but we're getting, 200 plus video views a day. And I can actually go in with this little pixel and watch what people are doing, see where they're clicking. This is not like the Instantly one where you know who they are, I know the city and stuff, but I can actually go in and watch what they're doing on my pages. So these are my video pages, and I can study what I'm doing and what kind of results. So I test dynamic injection of content here. Here you can clearly tell they're watching my video. They hit the play button. I can see how long they watch, what they do next. Do they book a call? Come on, you can do it. You can do it. No, but it's crazy because it's like this is website technology to monitor websites. I've had it on my website for a long time, but now I'm doing it for myself and for my clients, right? So I can tell them like, hey, I can show you definitively the numbers. And it's cool because I've actually tested this data versus Reachly's data, and they match perfectly. So not only can I capture, visits, and you can tell like if I filter website data, but if I like even filter by time, like the last 7 days, go to the dashboard here. Oh, I guess I got to filter it here, but like you can just tell we're getting so much better at it because our visits are dramatically climbing, and we're not sending more either. That's the thing; we're sending the same amount, so we're just getting better at hitting inbox with them and stuff. But unless something dramatically changes over the next few months, I don't know that it won't be our first approach going forward. And it's not specific. It's like we're using Reachly, and for full transparency, they're a client of mine. So it's not necessarily the fact, to be transparent, that it's Reachly. It's just the concept of the fact that hitting somebody's inbox in the first email with the video, even if you're bad at it, it's historically just converting better because you're bypassing all those words, right? That reply back and forth and everything that it takes to get somebody to watch a video if you can put it in their inbox. And Reachly definitely has developed the tech that I've tested now thousands. This is just my campaign. And personally sending, I want to say we're at 250 or 300 emails a day, some really low amount right now. I only have 24 domains, so whatever 24 times 10 is, 240 emails a day that we're getting, new emails a day, 240 emails. Like we're booking on average 4 to 5 calls a day. So the conversion ratio is just ridiculous compared to any other method. And Adam, who's in this group, just so you guys know, Adam's in the group, posts a lot. Also Clay Expert, also post in the WhatsApp group a lot. He's getting similar results. So it's not just me. So just something, if you guys are going to experiment with anything, I would say it's definitely worth the effort.
Real quick, and on the video that you guys are sending out, are you kind of treating it like if it's a SaaS product, just kind of like a mini demo / overview of like maybe the platform, just like an intro type video? Because that's going to be, the video is not dynamic, right?
No, the landing page is dynamic. The video is not. I treat it as I'm going to be as nice as I can so you like me and tell you just a little bit about the product. And I hate filming videos. So if somebody really, really good did it, but I personally believe it's all about likability. And are you worth taking that next step to get on the call? I think that's what seems to convert. If you try to sell in that video, it's just like trying to sell in an email. I think you give them a little bit about the product, but more and more it's like, hey, here's what we do. Here's a little bit about our company. Here's our value prop, etc. All right, we hit the hour. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you on Thursday.